Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Biggening Corporation. We're on episode 26 now, and in today's episode we are going to focus a lot more on making our sales and purchasing bots a little smarter, fitter, better, that sort of thing. We may get to market pricing, we'll see, to break it down a little bit more, because I do try, as I'm brainstorming, usually about an hour, maybe a half hour before the stream, of what am I going to do today. I have moved a few things over to today's episode. We have on our customer, the new table, the item customer catalog, a mirror of the vendor catalog, that will drive what is this customer willing to buy. We don't have anything there that notes by product posting group or item category, which is how I would prefer to do things. I would prefer that for any given customer, they will buy a set of different product posting groups and item category, and then just choose items within that rather than specifically items, because we are going to have a lot of different items and a lot of different categories and tiers and things. And then for the customer, we had to replicate some of the vendor side logic, where we were going to do the maximum quotes or orders per day, and lock down some of the field's editability, much like we did the vendor card, which was a few episodes ago, so we'll be revisiting that. And with both of those small changes in place, then we should be able to make some adjustments to our sales bots and our purchase bots. Now, the purchase bots, what we're going to do is we are going to have them look at the items that they are going to buy and determine if there is enough stock for that particular item in the location that their vendor is assigned to. I am not going to make the purchase bots multi-location cognizant. So, for example, when we jump over to our vendors, because purchasing bots are assigned to vendors, each of our vendors is assigned to a location code, and I want the maximum amount of a given item to be per location, because after all, customers are also assigned locations. So it makes sense to me to give players the full control, that they can say, at most I want 1,000 of this item in a given location. We may, at some point down the road, give an advanced setting instead of just on the item card, have that be the default setting for each location, and that way players can potentially adjust it in a different way, more fine-tuned, but we may even consider that past a version 1 horizon. We'll see what makes sense for that. Okay, so just to recap, since we're going to bring things over here on the location card, if we are marked as a player, we cannot make changes to most of this vendor card. Pretty much the only thing we can make as a change on this is the location code. I may open that up and let the player change names, because there could be some hilarity there, but there could also be problematic things in there, so I guess we'll see. So we need a similar level of lockdown and information available on our customer card. So that's easy enough. So let's start there, because that's where we're going to be going through anyways. As a matter of fact, real quick, on our vendor list, we had updated the vendor list column significantly, because this isn't a real-world scenario. We really care about these settings a lot more than we do about all of the various contact pieces and everything. So we'll go as quick as can today through modifying the customer list, the customer card. We're going to try to do this somewhat quick. And on the bright side, again, we're mostly parallel to the way that purchasing works when we create things over here in the sales side, so that's super useful. BCS customer list. I'm pretty sure we haven't extended the customer list yet. We have not. Cool. You cannot extend the same page twice within the same extension. So if I had spaced and not noticed that I had a customer card, say buried in a collapsed subfolder, you'll notice, then it would have thrown an error at me. You may have seen it here and there. So we're going to copy this over real quick to our customer list, which closed itself, helpfully. And great. Now, what is the name? We may not even have on our customer table. We do not. One of the nice things about grouping here in the way that we're doing things, most of the time we're not touching core tables very much, but I can see real quick I haven't extended the customer table at all. So, I believe, table extension is now a thing, so that's cool. BCS customer, extend customer. Nice. Okay. 88,000 is our field, and I'm actually going to skip that, let it be blank for a moment, because we can just copy this over from vendors. Parallel work. Great. That'll help our customer list have a better shot at building against those fields. Perfect. Okay, and is there anything else that's on here that's nonsense we don't need? Oh, yeah, we got a lot of balance and sales and payments and purpose. CFDI purpose and CFDI relation. I admit. That's interesting. Okay, so that's a regional thing for the North American database, I guess? That's interesting. CFDI purpose. Sure. Yep, globalization thing for Mexico. Okay. Interesting. I've been working in the Swedish and Swiss databases a lot for the past few years. I haven't been in the BC North American database, so that's new to me. All right, well, we certainly don't need those here. So that's something for us to think about, that right now I'm building this against the North American database, not the worldwide. So it might behoove me to consider if this is the best thing to be doing here, because if you try to deploy this solution into a Swedish database, for example, I think this probably would fail. So I wonder, I might have to at some point consider having localization extensions on top of the Biggening Corporation. So the North American localization specific add-on could be installed, and that would additionally modify these fields to make them get out the way, because we don't need them. So that's something to think about, because I do plan, as part of the open sourceness of this, the fact that it's in GitHub, let people install it. So with that save right there, I've just made this incompatible with a German database, for example. So apologies to my German watchers. I will definitely look at creating some region-specific extensions on top of this. As soon as you do multi-root workspaces, which is how I would work with that, very easy and handy option. The auto numbering doesn't quite work the same way, so when you do IntelliSense after, say, page extension, if you're in a multi-root workspace with multiple applications, it doesn't have a context oftentimes as to what ranges to pull from. So I'm going to try to stay away from multi-region until we're closer to multi-extension until we're closer to done with the overall infrastructure, and we're just adding features and functionality. But for now, we'll keep this specific, but we'll note this in our increasingly large pile of to-dos. North American specific. Cool. Okay. Yeah, so that's that one. Then in our customer card page, we didn't do much except add an action to it. Now, we should add a very similar flow here from our vendor card, which we want to keep open. If you hadn't put it together and it drives you bonkers a little bit, when you click on a file in Visual Studio Code, it shows it in italics and italics in the tab. That means that you're getting a preview of it, and you can immediately hop in and start working in it. It's no different. But if you double click it, the italics go away, and then it's considered actually open and won't change. And when you go to a next file, it'll open it in a new preview tab type thing. So just a little thing that you might figure out, you might not figure out, and this all should go after actions. Okay, vendor card. Alright, so we've got a whole bunch of sections on the vendor card that we modify as non-editable, and then we let there be a new section in the layouts for all the player settings. So let's get the new section in there, and how close in layout is our customer card group names? General, address and contact, invoicing, payments, shipping. If we look here, general, address and contact, invoicing, payments, and receiving. That's close enough for me to copy. Boop. And now we just need to fix the shipping. Which, if one simply called the tab in both places of logistics, we wouldn't have to do that. But it makes more sense to be shipping and receiving. That's fine. Okay, so there we go. Now our customer card is locked down, and they can only change the location code if they're a player. So that's a lockdown. That's good. So that gives us that real quick. Yeah, now with that done, we can... Yay! Done. That's very satisfying. I'm going to enjoy doing that more and more as we go through these. Okay, excellent. Now we need to have the customer item customer catalog here. This right now is by item. And as I mentioned, I don't actually want to structure it by item, what items are the customers willing to buy. I would rather this be by the product posting group and the item category code, because those are the things that we're using to drive how the data is actually going to populate. So if I look at my structure here, class 2 item, class 1, class 3, and then maybe the different category codes. So I would rather the customer catalog be more about what combinations of these they buy, a little bit more like the general posting setup. So we're going to probably need to discard a lot of this table. We've got currently the page for it, and we got the table for it. I believe the primary key on this is, customer item variant. So it's very customer specific. I don't think that's what we need it to be. I'm just debating. If you're working in a production system, the changes that I'm about to do being the destructive changes they are, it would blow up at you. And if you were doing this in the cloud version, it would not like that. I'm currently still very much working on-prem, and I'm working with this schema update mode of force sync. So it will just go, well, you're doing a destructive change. I guess I'll just delete the data that doesn't fit into the box that you've created. So when I change the primary key of this table, everything that's currently in it will go away. And because I've got that force sync turned on, it will go through. As far as I know, I don't believe you can do that in the cloud version. I haven't spent a whole lot of time doing destructive changes in SaaS yet, because we only have production customers in that, and so far we haven't rolled back any significant changes. But when you do that, there's obsolete tags that you would put on the items so that they are not used, and you would migrate the data to a new table. So In our case, however, we're dealing with a situation where we can just rework this whole table and force the change through. So I think that's what we're going to do. Let's see. I copied this over from Item Vendor, and I don't think that was really the right strategy. And unfortunately, when you live devs or just brainstorm dev off of what you think, sometimes it's a dead end. So, I'm thinking that for the moment, I'm going to go ahead and create an entirely new table so I have this available for reference, and we're going to rechange the prospect engine to point to that new table, and then we'll come back and reuse this table later. Let's do that. So let's see, we want a new table, BCS customer interests. And this will be based off of the customer number, which is a code 20, and again, system metadata across the board. We're going to do production posting group, which is another code 20, and we'll do this off of item category code, because that's how our system is actually structured. The customer doesn't just tell us what items they want, they just tell us which combinations of these they want. So this is a little funky table because it literally is only going to be the primary key fields. A little weird, but I think it'll work. Yeah, so let's do some table relations, because that's always useful. Then we can have lookups and that sort of thing. Table relation to the customer. Let's go into the primary key, so we don't even have to say what we're connecting to, just that we're connecting to the table. And the cool thing is that we can product posting. Yep, general product posting group, not VAT product posting group. Same thing here, we're doing against the primary key, so don't have to specify. We don't even have to do filters on that, which is just delightful. Item table relation. These are the sort of things that I find really powerful in the engine, that the amount of work that I didn't have to code to make this work is just bananas. And there's now all sorts of cascading relationship stuff going on there. If I delete one of those primary keys, it's just like, yeah, sure, man, go for it. Come on, that's just, oh man. Try doing that in a lot of other languages. Ooh. Into test. What the heck did my brain do? Alright, BCS customer interest, and this is going to be a list. You know what's interesting about this is that it's information for the player about what the customer is willing to buy. It's never anything that they can edit. This is just facts that the prospect engine has generated about the customer. So realistically, we could just show this as a fact box on the customer list and the customer card, which sounds cool to me. I like that. Let's do it. So this is as nice and simple as we just need those two fields then. That'll make a very clean fact box too. Excellent. Alright, so that's good. Excellent. That means that back here on our customer card, going the wrong directions, here we are. On our customer card, we are going to add to the fact box area, which I'm trying to remember. I know we do it in the layout. Add first to fact boxes. Nice. Okay. I haven't really done much with extending pages to add or remove fact boxes, I'll admit. So add first a new, and this is going to be a new part. So this will be the interests. Yep. And this is coming from BCS customer interests. Nice. And the caption on that is customer interest. And our sub page, yep, link equals customer number equals our field customer number. And actually, this is just this is the customer record, so it's just number. There we go. And talk about also practice makes perfect. I mean, if you compare like me, how quick I'm adding table relationships and linkages between pages and fact boxes from the beginning of the stream to now, you can see the difference that practice makes. So definitely, if you have the time, please definitely practice BC. Just make up requirements for yourself. It gets you in the habits and lets you get faster. Okay, so cool. That's good. Now we need the prospect engine here that is creating these customer entries. We have just this little chunk of function, convert to customer on our prospect, and it does all the migrates to a trade to item customer. Well, not anymore. It's going to go to customer interests. Now, in our prospect trades, we have trade type and trade code. Small issue there in the design of that. I don't think I was thinking through the fact that this is a combination. I have it set up correctly for item, but I don't have it correctly set up for handling separately the item category and product posting. So if, for example, you'll note here I've got office as an item category, but it could be class 2 or 3. In the way I'm going to slowly expand the prospect searching engine, I don't think that they should fish up prospects that are interested in classes that the player hasn't unlocked yet, because that's just mean. I mean, it could be a while before a player gets into class 3 manufacturing. So we might need to adjust the way our trade engine works as well. So you can see what I mean about kind of going back. Yeah, so we've got it set up to, it was either item or item category, so that's exactly what it was, is that it would go office. I'm not sure what the right way to restructure this is. I'm almost inclined to say that we should say to heck with this being two different branching things where we've got item and item category, but instead or we could just go simple and say field 40 is product category code, and just restrict the just add that as a new field onto here. Woo, jeez. Yeah, I think I'll do this approach for now, and we'll see how it works out. I mean, the engine is the only thing that's consuming and creating this, and it's just then information that ends up. This will only be used on the customer, so yeah. I'm okay with this. It'll be alright. I do think that this should be broken up then, and we should just move item category into its own field. I think that'll make more sense, but we don't need to spend any time on that right now. Really likes the quotes. Product posting group. Okay. Alright. That sounds good. So now we have migrating all the trades. The trade now has product category code. Okay. Man, I don't want to break prospects for vendors, so I'm not going to do that restructure right now, but boy, is that going to bug me. Okay, so instead of going to item customer here as we're going to have cust interests. And that'll be our record customer interest. Maybe if we get some, and this is why you use your prefixes to start. Okay, if we get the time, maybe I'll go back to reworking the trade code thing before the episode was over, but I don't think so today. Alright, so we're going through all the trades, and This one is much simpler now in that we just have to do interest customer number is equal to our customer dot number, simple, and our customer interest item category code, which we know now is sitting in the trades trade code, and customer interest dot product posting group is equal to trades dot product posting group. Did I call it product category code? Oh, you guys following along must have been chuckling a little on that. Product posting group. Brilliant. Okay, and now we can also tidy up the, we can add our product posting. I called it code too. Man. Jeez. Let's see, product posting trades, product posting group. Yup. That would be better. Let's save that. Fix our fact box. It's group, not code. There we go. And then back in our prospect table, finish the rename there. Sure. And this is as simple as an insert because we only have those 3 primary key fields. Posting. Okay. Great. And we didn't actually finish creating the field in this. Hooray for the red coloring to let me know. You actually have to finish the job. And now in our marketing bot, we are doing this little fishing for prospect routine. We copied and pasted that over from the purchasing bot, so right now it's still just generating item type interests. So from a sales perspective, this which I created as part of the time lapse, this is working wrong anyways. Okay. Sometimes you gotta do things the right way. So realistically, we don't need trade types. So we're gonna redo this up. We're gonna call it trade type for. Actually, we don't even need trade type. It's irrelevant. If we're moving all of the field data out of the item category versus item, then we don't need this. So we're gonna clean it up. We're gonna break everything. I'd rather take the 10 minutes than add it to a to-do pile. It doesn't make sense to get onto a to-do list. So that is that. And now we can just say field 50 is the item category code 20. Caption. I think I have my keyboard position wrong. I keep hitting brackets when I'm meaning to hit braces. Yep. Trying to go quick, and you know what happens when you hurry? You get sloppy, and you end up taking more time than if you just slowed down and did it the right way. Didn't pressure yourself. Okay, so in this case, we don't have trade type, it's not relevant. We don't have trade code, it's not relevant. We have item number, and we have also item category code. So, we also could get a smidge fancy with ourselves here in the prospect trades table. Let's see, we've got a flow field for the prospect type. I was about to be like, let's add a flow field for the prospect type. Yeah, we've got that already. Thought ahead. That means that here in the trade fact box, we can drive whether or not this is visible based on that setting. Visible is equal to prospect type equal prospect type customer. We'll see if this works. I'm a little fuzzy on what we're allowed to do with visibility when we're dealing with record level data. Because the column layout is per page, and when you move between records, the column layout can't change. So this might not be valid code. We'll see. We might have to do some clever trickery on the unopen on that. So now we've broken the convert vendor options, but it's a simple matter of it's now item number for the vendor trades. So that's easy. And now we have the item category code directly on here. Perfect. Okay. Now in our purchase bot, it's going to have a couple of little errors here because we have changed up that we want to generate some trades. Well, we don't need to generate the trade type anymore, and we can just generate the item number, because purchasing, we're always buying class 1 items, and those are the raw materials. Now in purchasing level 2, we need, not purchasing level 2, in the marketing and sales side, we need to decide how we're going to fish up these prospects. For the moment, I'm going to do the dreaded to-do tag, more eventing. We're going to need to do some clever eventing there to drive what tech is unlocked based on our current research level. And that'll be an interesting way to think about this. So for now, what I'm going to do is it's running through... right now it's only creating class 1 product posting groups that player would be interested in buying. What did we make the item category code for these items? Because we're going to pretend that our level 1 customers are only buying raw materials. What is the item category code for that? It might just be raw material. It is blank. Huh. Alright. I don't know that that's intended. I feel like I would have wanted some item categories there. I feel like we're going to have a raw material category code. But for the right now, I guess we're just going to say that the trades.product posting group equal master item.product posting group, and the trades.item category code is equal to blank, which is ghastly. And we don't need to do this on a per item basis. This was copied over from purchasing in that the purchasing bot would drive how many different types of raw materials that the vendor might be willing to purchase from us. And that's not the case for this side. I'm going to leave it for now. No, that doesn't make sense. We're always going to have just with how badly this is coded right this second, it'll always be class 1 blank regardless of the results. So we're going to do this. I'm going to copy this out, and we're going to block comment this whole ugly chunk of code that needs a lot more love, because it does not currently have any. There we go. So once it gets to the point where we've prospected up a customer, it will just create a quick entry for raw material purchasing for the moment under our current framework, blank item category and that class 1 item. Which this would be blank as well right now, so that would bomb as code. So we're going to do icky, horrible, hard coding. This commented out code doesn't even remotely make sense. All those fields were changed. So more eventing. No. More everything. Okay. There's a to-do waiting for us. Alright, so now we'll have customer prospects that just get a product posting group and an item category code, and when we convert the customer over, that will be part of their new customer interests. And from the customer card, we have a nice new fact box for the customer interests, and we therefore don't need the item catalog at all anymore. So that's even better, I think, personally. They don't need to go to a subtable. It's not like they can edit that. So right now, for the moment, we've still got the dead customer catalog table. And this has one reference, which should just be the page. Let's check. Page. Yep. Nice. Okay, perfect. Alright, and let's check the page. 0 references. Cool. So we're safe. Again, I'm in development mode with force sync, so I can do the super ugly get on out of here. We don't even need you in our solution anymore. Just poof. Destructive change. Force it through. Blow up everything. Make everything cry. Okay. Yes. Lots of changes. And I'm okay with leaving. And our role center is still being built and all that fun stuff. Thinking about life. I got a little tired of watching this particular screen. I had a locked. I had a customer on a 15 version, and they were on a really early platform version, and a .NET security update broke their IIS, and the only way to fix it was to uninstall Business Central, uninstall the entire .NET library, uninstall IIS, uninstall I think like a Windows process activation service, and reinstall everything from the beginning. It was quite the nightmare. So stay on top of your platform updates if you're on-prem. You never know when a Windows update will make your day a little unhappy. Thankfully for that customer, they were on a test system, so they were not screaming, ranting, and raving, wondering what happened. Alright, so now because of the refactoring to the prospects, we have item number. Okay, cool. I don't think we have any marketing bots doing anything to see a customer side one. Let's go to our game setup real quick and reduce the sales prospect effort by a lot. By a scary amount. Oh, yeah, wow, we forgot. I left this time bomb for myself. The entire mess that is this game setup. Woohoo! Did we introduce some bugs on that? Alright, well, I guess we're swinging into that real quick. Let's see, that's master company stuff. Game setup. I think the table was peachy keen. Sales prospect, sales prospect, sales prospect. That's all fine. I believe that this was the prospect area on the page. Yeah, so, okay. So a find and replace went bananas last episode, and boy, did that mess things up. Yeah. So we need this to be our purchase prospect multiplier, and this is just that's another one of those reasons why when I tend to use find replace, I will copy the code out and put it into a separate document and do the find replace there, because it's just a little safer. Okay, cool. That fixes our page setup, so we'll republish those changes. And I just realized as well, as a small apology, I usually have my Karnak running to show my keyboard shortcuts, and I don't at the moment, so let's fix that real quick. From a resolution standpoint, get them onto the screen, always a good idea so you can actually see them. And we only need modifiers, thank you. That should get us onto screen. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So yes, Control-Shift-P if you're new to the stream. Alright, while we were waiting, that publish should be well and truly done. Again, we need to refresh at the browser level. All good there. Make sure our game setup is set. Much better. Okay, so tons less typos in this. We have a lot of redundant field naming here, and I will want to clean that up in just a moment. If you're creating section headings, then there's no reason to include the terms in the field captions. So something to watch out for. If it makes sense to be really explicit, like here under location, when new locations are created, I want to use this as the number series for the location number. So it makes sense there to leave location. Here in the prospect effort, it's going to be under sales or purchasing to say both, and it would be a lot clearer for my users, especially with things like this where these two look identical unless you maximize. So it's better to group things up and label the captions in a smarter way. So let's fix that in just a moment, but you'll notice that I goofed up and made purchase prospects when the fields were remapped wrong. The purchase prospects were going to go super fast, and we were going to make lots of those. We do not want that. Here in our test player 5 company, we need, I always type bot instance, but it's list. Okay, so we don't have any sales and marketing bots here in our test player 5 company, so let's get a marketing bot. I still haven't updated our purchasing flow, so hi. Sure, let's get that going. So unfortunately I cannot use my proper flow of buying a bot, which shouldn't be buried, so we still very much need to clean up the bot list here, but I want the functionality going. So now we've got a marketing bot. Let's get a couple marketing bots so that we're going along. Sure. So that'll do 5 operations per day. That'll do 5 operations per day. And real quick, in our marketing bot, it's going in and doing the get operations per day to do the sales prospect effort. Sorry, I'm just looking at what's the math on this again. Yeah, it's based on operations per day. So in our case here, if we've got 2 marketing bots and they're both set to 5 operations per day, and we've got the game setup saying that at 4 prospect effort per day they'll dig up a prospect, then we should get 2 customer prospects when we tick the game date up. So I should have stayed on that screen here. So we'll tick our game date up so we don't wait 15 minutes. But it still will take about 60 seconds or so. Job queue doing its thing in the background. If we head off to our prospect list that we've invented, we have a lot of caption cleanup to do because it should, all of these things right now are still called BCS something. While we wait for that, because I'm trying to go quick and be smart about things, let's clean up a couple of captions here. I believe we've got those down at the table level. We do. So because we are using these fields in multiple places, in the context of the page, it makes sense to drop the caption to be shorter and to say prospect tier multiplier. But that might not be true somewhere else the field is placed. So it makes sense here on the page to override the caption and say on this page we just want to say prospect tier multiplier. And we'll do the same for these. But like I said, it might not be true everywhere. Like if this was in a list somewhere, it wouldn't make any sense at all for us to drop that down. So let's only shorten it up in the context of which it makes sense. So okay. And hopefully when we switch back to our code or our client in just a sec, then we'll see a few prospects on the customer side. Should be 2. We'll see. And if not, we'll see a successful test of the error logging system. So I guess we'll see what we get. Alright. Cool. That'll tidy that up. And now we can just F5 it here to refresh the data. I don't see anything, so let's check first our bot activity log and descending this. So we've got notes in here about research and purchasing, but we don't have anything in our do we have anything from errors? Okay, so we've got marketing bot errors. Coming over from the test player 25 company, where it's attempting to chew through all those operations on a game day basis since we last ran this, which that's a lot of errors. So I believe so our issue when we set up the sales prospecting side of things before is that we didn't have any settings in this. It looked like it was fine, but it was not. So those are correct system errors, that we should be getting some errors in here. Okay, so actually we'll just go right back to the game setup here and we'll bump up our game date again. Okay, and we'll double check that here in the test player 5 company. Yep, I thought so. As we've mentioned before in the stream, because we publish things regularly, we will frequently trip up the job queue that runs every 60 seconds. So, alright, now we should have a happy ticking little job queue here in our test player 5 company. And we do. And that's in process. It should chug along for a second or two and hopefully finish shortly. There we go. Great. And now if we check our activity log, do we see anything? I don't know that we taught the marketing bot to say anything. Oh, yeah. It's currently saying that in the future it would do 5 ops because I don't think we updated our text to say, you know, hey, found something. Prospect. There we go. Alright, well, more than the ones I was expecting, but that confirmed one of the things I was thinking about, which is that the visibility flag on the fact box, it's being driven by whatever the value is the first time we open it. We cannot change column visibility based on record values. So when we come up here to vendor, it shows the item number fine. When we come down to customer, there are no item numbers. It's those other 2 columns that are currently hidden. So given that in this case, that's not too big of a deal, we're talking 3 columns, let's fix our prospect trade fact box. I wasn't sure what might be possible in the current version of 16. So I figured, you know, hey, let's give it a try. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. And it didn't. So Alright, not too bad there. So we've got some prospects. Hopefully those are there. We've got a button for Make Vendor. We don't have a button for Make Customer. So that's an obvious little whoops. We will simply do that. Here we've got Make Vendor. We need Make Customer. Easy enough. Just checking to make sure I've got everything selected. Good. Alright. And typo. Convert to cust and convert to vend. Okay. And now we can slightly change these buttons to enabled equals whether or not the prospect type is equal to type vendor. Now, enabled is a different story. Enabled you definitely can bind to the record you're on, because that's just turning something on and off. So the GUI doesn't have any issue with the fact that it has to draw the space for it. No big deal from that perspective. And as I mentioned, I am going to do this in a copy paste because no thank you, I'm not going to mess up my code again. There we go. Whoop. There we go. And we already had built the function for convert to customer, so that's nice and simple. And if you didn't catch it before, when we run page 0 with a record, it will run whatever the default is for that record. So we didn't even have to update what page do we want when the person hits the button. It will open to the list of customers, not the card, which arguably could be cleaner. I personally would prefer as a user to jump to the card, especially since we do filter the record set to the customer. So it will always show us the list first and only with one record, which that's silly from a workflow perspective. It makes sense. It's lazy for us to be able to quickly do that. So, yep. Cool, there's our class 1, and we currently have item category code always set to blank, so that's perfectly correct. And as we can see in the toolbar, we have our make customer, make vendor, and they toggle on and off depending on which type we're on. So real simple logic there. I went quick. It's just this is a Boolean expression based on the type that is on the record, which is assumed because rec.type is a field name. So there's a lot of just brilliant little shortcuts in there. I really like it. Alright, so now theoretically we can grab compatible Juliet. Yep, there we go. And there we go. We get our record converted over. Perfect. And it took a second to load it up, but it threw in our fact box right up top of what trades are they willing to do. So this customer will only buy our raw materials, the class 1s, and we can only set the location code. Perfect. So we'll set it to buy from basic 21 location. And we're going to need a sales bot for that location. So our bot list, which we really need to get our purchasing workflow for bots up and running again for some of the other types here. Sure. 1, 2, 3. Absolutely. And since this is a sales bot, it's assigned to customers. Boop. And it'll be another, there we go, some basic settings. Again, those will come from the bot tiers when we've got that set up and working correctly, but we do not have the bot, not bot tiers, the bot templates, but we haven't fully fleshed all these out yet and the workflow around these different things. So we're going to have to work on that. We'll get there. That might be coming real soon though, so that'll be good. Okay, that's a lot tidier of a code. We fixed a lot of little bugs along the way, so that's good. We fixed our our item customer catalog by deleting it and creating an entirely new one. We have not done anything about making the bots pay attention to player settings. Let's see, we've got, in our usual hour, we've got about 5 minutes left. How fast do you think we can code? Okay. Alright, well, let's see. We are going to, in our purchase bot here, we've got code here for creating lines and creating purchases. This code for creating a PO is called for each operation. What we really should do then is we should intercept to see if there is any need to create a purchase order and for what item at the beginning of this operation workflow. Do we need to actually buy any items? If so, which ones? And in our case, we've got the vendor bots in our bot list here. Our purchasing bots are assigned to a specific vendor, which are assigned to a specific location. Those vendors have a finite list of items, and that finite list of items can have on it the how many they want to buy. So if we look at, that's the report, that's not going to help me. If we look at the items, we can see fabric parts. Our earlier purchasing bots went cuckoo and created a bajillion of these. So let's say that the reorder level for this is 50 and that the maximum stock is 200. What I would expect as a player is if I had 70 of fabric parts in a location and my reorder level is set to 50, I would expect I'm not going to reorder anything. I would expect only when my stock gets down to the 50 point will the bots attempt to start to buy stuff. And I would want the bots to consider what's incoming to that particular location. So that way, you know, if there's 1,000 incoming, obviously we way overshot. And the only scenario with this configuration where I'm at 50 as the reorder point and 200 as my maximum, the only scenario that would matter is if we had a bot that was able to order up to 150 items or more at a time. So there's a lot of logic that is going to need to go into this, probably more than 5-10 minutes worth. But we can, however, begin to go, how do we calculate for that bot, for that vendor, for that item set, for that location, should I begin the reordering process? And I think that we're going to create a few different steps to that. And what we'll do then is we're probably going to need some events, because maybe we want to intercept on before, intercept that the thought process is beginning. And we're going to let's kind of do a note flow here on this. So let's create a new procedure, calc demand. Actually, calc I don't know, calc for stock, I guess. And we are going to pass it the bot instance, which is in this function in a code unit on run. This trigger rec is assumed to be a bot instance. That is not the case when we create procedures elsewhere in here, so we need to pass it that BCS bot instance table, BCS bot. Oh, I haven't told it record, so it's sitting here going, I don't know what types I should suggest to you here, man. Alright, so what we'll need then is we'll need to get the vendor record for that bot, and then for that vendor we'll need to look at the vendor item catalog. That is, remember it's item vendor. They don't even call it catalog. In this item vendor table, then we'll go for each of those items. We'll look at the locations that the vendor is assigned to. Oh, we don't need the location table. Okay. So, bot is assigned to a vendor. Get it? Then once we've got it, look at each item the vendor supplies. Check the balance of stock in that vendor location. Factor in the incoming supply. And that will then result in spit out true if we need to reorder. Okay, so that gives us a better idea of kind of what are we looking at for a function. So we're going to return a Boolean from this just based on I handed you a bot instance, tell me if this thing needs to order anything. Any orders needed. Sounds like a good function name to me. I'll go semantic and go are any orders needed. There we go. All right. So I'm just double checking here. We will call this probably outside of this loop. So we'll want to do a quick check on if the assignment code is blank, then get out of this function, because the answer to that is no. If the bot is not assigned to a vendor, then the answer is no. No orders are needed. Easy enough. And rec isn't correct for this. It's the bot instance we're looking at. All right. And then if we're still hanging out, then we'll do a vendor get on the bot instance assignment code, which contains the vendor code. I'm okay with if somehow the bot is assigned to a vendor that doesn't exist, it should just throw an error on this get. I'm okay with that. That's perfectly fine. So now vendor item dot set range on the item vendor number to the vendor dot number. So now we've set, and if for some insane reason that vendor item table is empty, then we'll also bail out because that vendor, for whatever reason, doesn't supply any items. So, okay, that's cool. Now we're going to be looping if the vendor item, hang on. We've got shortcuts here that I should be using. The snippets are repeat is our friend. If vend item dot find set, then repeat until vend item next. And then for each item that they supply, we are going to factor in the incoming supply. If this vendor supplies 3 different raw materials, and we need any of them, the answer to this is yes, our orders are needed. We don't really need to specify. This isn't asking, which items are needed. It's just going, look, do we need to do anything? So the minute we get a confirmation of yes, an item is needed, we're going to exit out true, and the loop can stop. So that's cool. It'll be a relatively efficient function because we're still not making any modifications. We're just looking and doing some calculations. Okay, so now we will want the item as a record as well, because we're going to calc fields on a couple of fields on that. So item dot set range. Whoops, nope. We need before. Nice and simple. We're going to get first. Get the item of the vendor item dot item number. And now that we're on the item, we'll set range on the flow filter called location filter with the vendors assigned location code. So what I'm doing there, if anyone's a little fuzzy on this, these flow fields, like inventory, for example, when we change the settings on that, why? I thought I could change the flow field settings right on this screen, but apparently there's no filter button, maybe. Okay. Anyways, when we set the flow filter to a specific location, that will change the calculation to only look for a given location. So all these entries that say basic 21, if I was filtering on basic 1, those entries would be excluded automatically from the total. So nice and simple, we can just say item set range location filter the vendor's location, and we are going to calc fields the inventory level, and the purchasing bots create purchase orders. Those are generally then received the very next game day, and then the purchasing bots will post the invoices on that. That does mean that we have a little bit of a potential lag between when the purchasing bots are actually taking the items off of a purchase order. So if we have 50 in stock and we've got 100 on a purchase order, when we hit receive on those purchase order lines, I believe this takes into account the quantity on the purchase order, not the outstanding quantity. Oh, no, maybe they've updated that. Maybe. Yeah, because this has 16 on here as the quantity, but there's actually 0 outstanding. So it's possible that if the quantity has been received, that 100 has been added into inventory. Oh, the 100 in inventory would just be counted as part of the inventory. So we'd see it as 150. No big deal. Okay. I think. Alright. Well, we'll try it out here. We'll see if we get some weird behavior. So we're also going to calculate what's on purchase orders, which hopefully I think takes into account the location filter. Let's go look at the definition of item real quick, and we're going to go look at quantity on purchase order. Yes. Okay, so here we've got the quantity on purchase order is a calc formula that is the sum of, there we go, there's the answer, outstanding quantity, not total, just what's outstanding. Perfect. And it does take into account the location filter, so we'll only see incoming stuff for this that's coming to this location that hasn't been received yet in that quantity to quantity on purchase order. Beautiful. Cool. Excellent. So now we don't need this separate little tag. This is already as part of that. Actually, let's do that. Okay, so if item dot inventory plus the item dot quantity on purchase order is less than or equal to the item dot reorder, and we repurposed. We didn't repurpose. We called a new one this reorder level. So we got to make sure we don't goof ourselves up and use the reorder point that is in, or quantity that are in the base product, because we didn't want to have any confusion later in what code is affecting that. So BCS reorder level. Thankfully, we've got the prefix on there so we know it's ours. So if what's in inventory and what's incoming is less than what we told the reorder point, then exit true. That's it. Alright, now our purchasing bot will correctly will correctly know that an order is potentially needed. And later, down in the create line logic, we're going to reproduce this logic a little bit. But instead of exiting true, we're going to exit with the first item that we're aware of that needs demand. So like I said, I hate copying and pasting code, but in this case it makes sense. We're going to basically, this is a check routine, whereas later we're going to say what item is needed, and this will exit a code 20, and in the case we shouldn't get into this function and have any of these exit false scenarios that we outlined earlier where stuff isn't set, whatever have you, but when we get in here, we'll exit the item.number. So now we've got a function that checks to see, do we need anything? That's really all it's going is, do we need anything from this supplier? And then we'll say yes, so it'll go ahead and create the PO for this supplier, and then when we get to the line, we'll go, okay, so now that I'm talking to this supplier, what do we need? And that we can bring down in here where we've got hard-coded right now the item number that we're buying. We can instead call the function of what do we need. Now the only small problem is that we haven't updated the upstream code here. We're not passing along the bot instance, so we really need that bot instance to be something we pass through the whole flow, which we'll do by doing this here. So update create PO to call with that, and we'll update create line to call with that. So every step along the way, these know which bot instance we're dealing with. So, which does make this parameter, the vendor number, irrelevant. We don't need to pass the vendor number because we've got the vendor number on the bot instance. It's already coming with. And that is the assignment code. So nice and simple there. Okay. And now here we pass the purchase header in and the bot instance. So now instead of in this function, we can now there we go. We can go ahead and pass this little what item is needed. Boom. There we go. All right. So now when we create a purchase order, it will find what items we're short of, and those will be the lines it's creating. At the moment, I've still got it just generating random quantities and costs, so we got to fix that up. And now we can also add some code up here in the original beginning part when the purchase bot wakes up and does its job for the day. If not, are any orders needed, then we will begin end, so that way we can set the result text to string substance number. We're going to create a new little message that says that nothing was needed, and we'll do that down here in our labels. No orders needed message, and this is a label that will be no orders are required from vendor number. Okay, so now up tippity top we can pop that little message, no orders needed message, with our rec.assignment code. There we go, and exit. So when the bot wakes up for the morning, are there any orders needed? If not, we'll say that no orders were needed and leave. if we, just checking here, small issue on that workflow is that I don't check about the assignment code beginning. So I would rather we throw one of those nice little player errors to say that this bot isn't assigned to anything. Oh, no. We don't, oh, jeez. You know what I'm doing wrong here? The purchasing bot is the only bot that serves a double duty. If it's not assigned to something, then it will fish for prospects. Here, by putting this little logic outside the loop, if it's not assigned to anything, it just gives up and goes back to sleep. So that is absolutely wrong. We want that to be inside of the functionality to if it is assigned, then check if any orders are needed. Yeah. And there we go. So if when it wakes up and it starts to go through its motions, if there's nothing assigned, if there's something assigned and there are no orders needed, then we bail from this entirely. If not, then we'll create some purchase orders, and the purchase orders will use whatever item that vendor supplies. Okay, I'm going to do a real speedy setup on a new location, new purchasing bot, and we'll see if that gets us to a wrap for the day. I'm going to publish this chunk of code real quick, and we've gone a little over, but we've gotten a bunch done, so a bunch cleaned up. Didn't quite make it to all the things I wanted to get to today, but that's okay. Let's see, so we've got this location L2. I don't think there's anything here, but let's create a new one. We'll do I'm not crazy, right? I added a new function to buy a location, right? Yeah, okay. Buying a basic location, which right now costs nothing and there's no effort involved in it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's a basic maximum units, 2100, and there's nothing else special we're going to need to do about this for now. We are going to go to our prospect table, and we are going to create a new vendor from our pile of ones that is buying an item that we're actually going to want. Let's see. We sort of need a prospect that has one of the items that we have in the system, which I think is only 1000 and 1002. Okay. Oh, we can fix this. Alright, let's go with often quality. They're often quality. Sounds good enough. And yeah, it's going to throw us a little error message because that item doesn't exist. Okay. Items. Real speedy like. I saw a bunch of 1004s in there, and 1004 what were you going to be? Oh, jeez. I believe plastic parts. It's going to be this one. And everything's in eaches. Nice and simple there. And our general product posting group, your raw good, and our inventory posting group for these is just item. That's all that we need to set on that for the moment. There we go. So prospect, come to one of our 1004 suppliers here. I know I saw a couple. Distributed Oscar. Sounds good. Alright, so you are assigned to our new L3 location. Shout out to all our LaGrange fans. Let's see. So now we've got a vendor assigned to that location, and we theoretically have a minimum stock for that. That is 50. because that, I believe, is the reorder point. Let's set that lower. I didn't set a reorder level. So we're going to set that to 10. So that way we have a really small number, and we should see that the purchasing bot will go, no orders are required. So now if we go to our bot list, can't wait till we have some tidy role centers. That'll be great. Let's grab MM. You are going to be assigned to our new distributed Oscar. And so are you. How fun is that for you? And now we'll tick up the game date. I want to add like a little ribbon onto this game setup that you just push it to tick the game date up while we're testing, because that'll be easier. Let's go make sure our job queue didn't get broken by one of our publishes. It did. So let's set that to ready. While we're looking at things, we can also crank this sales prospect effort back up. That's perfectly serviceable and fine. Alright, so now if we go look at our items, plastic parts, we have 0 quantity on hand, and we have 0 purchase order. Okay, let's go check our activity log and see what's going on here. Descending. Okay, well, we've got an interesting message here that say no order. Let's make that bigger here. Get rid of your filter. Okay, so there we go. No orders required from these different vendors. Alright, I don't know that that's actually true, but we're getting the message, so that's something. And we are thinking V003 and L03. Okay. So yeah, these two purchasing bots are supposed to be looking at that vendor. Let's check the trades on this particular vendor, which is items. Yeah, 1004. That's there. Alright. And we did set the reorder point, so alright, well, I guess we're gonna troubleshoot that a bit more tomorrow. I was hoping we'd have a spiffy ending point of seeing the purchasing bot achieving the maximum reorder point that we were going for, and then all was well in the world, but it seems we have a bug hiding around in the code. I can't imagine why. We've done such a thorough job testing it and architecting it so carefully. So, alright, well, we've got a good bit done. This is partially complete, so I guess we'll finish that up in the next episode. Okay, and I guess SalesBot customer settings, the parallel of this, will go into that as well. So that's where we're going to try to wrap up tomorrow, and we're going to create the necessary subsidiary tables to make market pricing happen tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. Potentially, it's going to create a mountain of data. I can't think of a great way to do it otherwise. So I guess we'll see tomorrow. Maybe we'll come up with some interesting strategies. Who knows? So thank you all for watching, and we'll have some more fun with this tomorrow. Take care, everyone.